Welcome back to SB Nation. I'm Amy K. Nelson here with our own Dan Rubenstein and Austin Schindel, XFINITY sports guy. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having me, Amy, and appreciate you guys talking a little college football with me on the XFINITY couch, the best seat in the house. See, Dan really seems to be enjoying it.
It's very comfortable. I used to have the best seat in the house, but I'm willing to turn it over to this bad boy.
Anything you're sitting on, Dan, automatically is the best seat in the house.
That is true.
Well, separate from that, what we're actually really talking about today is college football. In fact, basically the 5 things that we're looking at during this college football season. And Dan, I wanted to start with you. I know you really want to talk about USC and basically the program getting itself back to an elite status.
Yeah, big thing was Matt Barkley coming back after his junior season, not testing the NFL waters. And they're off the 2-year bowl ban. They're stacked at wide receiver. The defense is experienced. They have to replace them on the defensive line, but it's a tough Pac-12 schedule, but things are shaping up quite nicely for the Cardinal and Gold.
Absolutely. On social media in the first game, Silas Redd was the biggest winner amongst USC fans. After his, I believe, 31-yard run, people were exploding, thanking him for coming to USC and thanking Penn State.
Not literally.
State, yeah.
Well, they literally weren't exploding, but the comments were on Twitter, right?
Correct,
okay.
correct. We try and separate social media from the real world. It's difficult sometimes.
It is sometimes.
But of course, Matt Barkley's still, very popular on Twitter, and people really show their support for him.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to my personal team, Michigan, and its heated, long story of rivalry with Ohio State. Now, this is obviously Big Ten country. What are we looking at when it comes to these two programs?
Yeah, these two teams coming off of some shaky ground. Michigan, of course, having some down years with Bridge Rodriguez. Ohio State with Jim Tressel and the sanctions, and Luke Fickell going 6-6 last year. But with the hire of Urban Meyer at Ohio State, people are very excited about the Buckeyes, even though they do have a bowl ban this season. Braxton Miller, a dual-threat quarterback. People are very excited about what he's going to be able to do in the system, same system that Tim Tebow thrived in college. In Michigan, they go to the Sugar Bowl last year in Brady Hoke's first year, and Denard Robinson, of course, returns. He's as dynamic a runner and passer as there is in the Big Ten.
And during their first game, Urban Meyer was trending on Twitter, not any of the players on the team, which I found quite interesting.
It's all about the coach.
As far as Michigan goes, Denard Robinson was, the keynote.
Easy.
He was I was going to say he was the keynote speaker at the Big Ten media days, and everybody was expecting a ton from him. They were very tough on him in the first game because they expected against the best competition in the country that he would do better. But I'm sorry to say there were some pretty mean things said about him.
Arm punting is my favorite phrase. That was yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you only rush for 27 yards and you're a running quarterback, people on Twitter were obviously very upset at him, but I still think that there's great opportunity for him the rest of the season.
Okay, well, now we're going to move on to 2 different conferences that have a couple of additions. The Big 12 and the SEC. Roll Tide. I should just say Roll Tide. Everyone knows what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
All the time, all day, every day. First, let's start with Big 12. Dan, what are you looking at with the new additions?
Yeah, West Virginia and TCU, 2 teams that have had a lot of success these past few years, especially on the BCS level, even though coming from the Big East and the Mountain West. West Virginia brings that Dana Holgorsen offense. Geno Smith, legitimate Heisman contender, and Tavon Austin, 2 huge playmakers for West Virginia. It'll be interesting to see how teams like Oklahoma and Texas with bigger defenses do against West Virginia. And TCU has been great defensively. They won the Rose Bowl a couple years ago against Wisconsin. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Big 12 offenses.
The best thing about Twitter is that they don't discriminate against what week it is in the season. So West Virginia putting up close to 70 points. They scored 70 points in their last game, too.
Yep.
People were calling them one of the best offenses in the country. Geno Smith, of course, is a Heisman candidate, and he's great. But I think some people were saying, hold your horses the first week, but while others, mostly Mountaineer fans, were calling them one of the best teams in the entire country.
Wait a minute. College football, and people are getting really passionate
after
and overexcited after week 1?
Yeah.
Shocker. Okay, how about the SEC?
Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. SEC, of course, adds from the Big 12, Missouri and Texas A&M. Missouri brings in sort of a wide-open offense. So does Texas A&M, which will be an interesting dynamic in the SEC when it's such a physical, run-based conference. Dorial Green-Beckham's a big name that people were talking about. I know both in sort of the newspapers of the world and on social media.
Those exist.
Those still exist. The #1 receiver and overall player coming into the college ranks in 2012. And Texas A&M, they hire Houston coach Kevin Sumlin, who's a Mike Leach disciple. So really, it's the air raid all over again in the SEC.
I know you guys like talking about what actually happens on the field, but I just can't help.
We know.
I
tried to help you out with Dorial Green-Beckham in the
You don't even know what a newspaper is, right? It's all internet, all online, all the time, right?
Basically. Well, the Aggies, they were, they put the billboard went up in Gainesville ahead of their first game against the Gators. They claimed they had nothing to do with it, but people on Twitter did not care. They still were saying this is personal. And of course, Florida's offense is a little shaky, so people are really behind it. And of course, I'm sure you're very familiar with the preseason video of them welcoming themselves to the SEC. People were a little confused by that, but definitely check that out. That was something.
That's what they do in the SEC. They fight with billboards. And one of my favorite Twitter followers, and you're gonna like this, his name is Bobby Big Wheel. He said, "The South fights with billboards because they've already proven they can't win with rifles and cavalrymen." That's good stuff.
That's amazing.
It's good college football rivalry.
It is, and we love Bobby Big Wheel.
Yes, we do.
All right, moving on. Actually, staying in the SEC.
Roll Tide.
Staying in the Roll Tide.
Yeah.
The national championship game last year, Alabama, LSU. Changes on both teams.
Yes.
Talk about those.
So LSU, of course, they lose both Jordan Jefferson and Jarrett Lee, which could be a positive thing at the quarterback position, but also Tyrann Mathieu, who was expected to play at corner, a Heisman finalist. Yes, absolutely. So they're replacing key playmakers, but they're set up quite nicely. They lose an offensive lineman for the season, Chris Falk, their left tackle. That hurts, but they're going to be okay. They're so deep on both sides of the ball, they're just going to smother teams all over the country.
I mean, unfortunately, with Tyrann Mathieu, was negative circumstances in which he was spoken about so frequently. But Alabama fans are licking their chops at the fact that Chris Falk, the left tackle, is gone for the season, started 15 games last year. And once that happened, you saw more Alabama action than you saw in LSU, because I guess LSU fans want to keep it a little bit quiet. But Alabama, people were even saying, jokingly during the Michigan game, sorry again, that they should be in the AFC South because they're that good, and maybe the AFC South is that bad. But nonetheless, people love the fact that Alabama's finally #1.
And Alabama, they lose a lot on defense, of course, to the draft. But A.J. McCarron is back, first-year quarterback. Last season leads them to a national championship. And T.J. Yeldon, a running back to watch for. People were freaking out over T.J. Yeldon on the tweeters. Is that what it's called? The tweeters?
The tweeters.
It's something like that.
Catch you up after the
Catch me up, yeah. But T.J. Yeldon is a true freshman name to watch for Alabama.
All right, well, we're just going to move straight to the end of the season, essentially. Give me your breakdown of Heisman candidates, Dan.
Yeah, it's never too early. There's a top 4 in my head right now. DeAnthony Thomas, just a quarter and a half of action against Arkansas State was ridiculous. He's fast. He has the platform with big games against USC and Stanford to get a lot of attention. Le'Veon Bell had a huge first week, Michigan State running back against Boise State, over 200 yards. So as for this season, he's huge. Monte Ball, he used to be Monty, loses a couple key offensive linemen. Offensive coordinator Paul Chryst, Russell Wilson, of course, the NFL. But still ridiculous back, set all sorts of records last year. And Matt Barkley, I mean, there's not much to say about him that hasn't been said, has all the weapons in the world. USC is going to be great. If they run the table, it's basically a rocket ship to the moon to the Heisman for him.
Okay, and Austin, I know you have the exact same 4.
Yeah.
So what's your sense on Twitter?
Well, I mean, Twitter, like we said, first week, these guys know everything that's going to be happening. The 2 people that were spoken about the most were DeAnthony Thomas from Oregon, because people were wanting him to get more touches to see if he can score more than 3 touchdowns on 7 touches. And Matt Barkley, who, of course, is the toast of Twitter. Everybody loves talking about him, what the team is going to do. And people have even said in Arizona that John Skelton's holding the seat warm for Matt Barkley, who will be the starting quarterback week 1 for the Arizona Cardinals. So on Twitter, you really see people pushing hard for Matt Barkley.
Week 1.
Week 1. All right, your final pick?
I'm going to go Matt Barkley. Just because
predictable.
Okay, fine. I'll go DeAnthony Thomas. As a Homer Duck, it feels right.
It does feel right.
Yes.
That's so much more appropriate. Well, we want to know what you think. What's going to happen in the football season, the college football season? Let us know in the comments. Did we definitely think? Did we miss any major storylines? Who knows? But you'll let us know. And we'll see you next time.